Encounters with the Nagual by Armondo Torres. Chapter 5. Energetic Drainage. Part 2. One of the most serious habits that shapes our inventory is the habit of telling others everything we do or stop doing. It is an important part of socialization. We want to generate an exclusive image of ourselves, but the image ends up molding itself to other people's expectations, and we become imitations of what we could be. Once they consider us as facts, we have to follow certain behavior patterns even when we are sick of them or even if we don't believe in them, because any intent to change puts us up against the wall. Most people feel empty when they don't have love or friends because they have built their lives on a superficial base of relationships and they don't have any time left to ponder their destiny. Ultimately, friendship is generally based on an exchange of intimacies, while a basic premise of mundane relationships is that everything we say someday will be used against us. It's a sad fact that the ones we care about the most are also our worst headaches. Sorcerers maintain that talking about ourselves makes us accessible and weak, while learning how to be quiet fills us with power. A principle of the path of knowledge is to turn your own life into something so unpredictable that not even you yourself knows what's going to happen. The only way of leaving the collective inventory is moving away from those who know us well. After a time, mental walls that trap us become a little softer and they start to give in. That's when genuine opportunities for change appear and we can take control of our lives. If we were able to transcend interpretations and face pure perception without prejudice, the impression of a world of objects would vanish. In its place, we would witness energy as it flows in the universe. Under such conditions, the chain of other people's thoughts would no longer have the smallest effect on us, and we would not feel obliged to be or do anything. Then our senses would have no limits. That is seeing. He defined further. The sorcerer's objective is to break the fixation of social interpretations and to see energy directly. To see is a total perceptual experience. Seeing energy as it flows is an imperious need on the path of knowledge. Ultimately, all the efforts of sorcerers are guided to that end. It is not enough for a warrior to know that the universe is energy. He has to verify it for himself. Seeing is a perceptual matter which has immediate consequences and far-reaching effects on our lives. The most dramatic of them is that sorcerers learn to see time as an objective dimension. He continued by saying that energy is distributed through the universe in layers. All conscious beings belong to one of these. Everyday love ends up becoming a debt when others claim from us the same attention they gave us, and a debt of feelings is something fatal. For these reasons, one of the priorities of a teacher is to destroy the apprentice's sexual patterns. This is a crucial matter that requires lifelong work, but it is necessary to begin from the first moment, because becoming a member of a party of sorcerers cannot be used as a pretext for sexual deficiencies. If we don't solve that matter as ordinary men and women, our chances to advance on the warrior's path are very slim. Sorcerers have many ways of correcting an apprentice. Some don't have any scruples and subject their pupil to real tortures, attacking his weaknesses until he gets cured or he cracks. Others, like my teacher, are extremely delicate on this point and prefer to work with energy from inside, making the apprentices become aware of himself and react. Any method is legitimate as long as it produces the result desired. The Nagual Julian, for instance, combined a merciless efficiency with a tremendous ability to become what he wanted. It is not that he acted, rather he genuinely transformed himself, moving his assemblage point from the position corresponding to the form of an animal or another person. One of his favorites was the form of a woman. Once, in the shape of a beautiful girl, he seduced his apprentice Juan Matus, who at the time was barely 20 years old and hot as a young bull. When they were both in bed, he moved his assemblage point back to his habitual position and was a man again, which made the youth run terrified from the room. For a mentality like the one Juan Matus had at the time, the impact was devastating. It demolished his stereotypes. It was a grotesque joke, but uniquely effective. In one slash, it broke his inclinations to surrender to the first female who made herself available. Don Juan never forgave his teacher for the joke, but as time passed, he learned how to laugh at the story. At this point, Carlos allowed a small round of questions. One of the present interrogated him regarding celibacy, whether it was indispensable or not for sorcerers, and what the advantages were. He answered, "A priori, sorcerers are neither for nor against anything. They see that everything depends on the congenital disposition of energy. There are some who are born with the necessary passion to make love every day, while others don't even have enough for a masturbation. Some recover their luminous totality by means of discipline. Others have the appearance of strainers and will die incomplete. All these factors modify and determine the behavior of sorcerers regarding sex. What characterizes sorcerers is their refusal to be victims of the collective reproductive command, and their ability to choose a responsible use for their energy. Also, none of them can be trapped in any sexual category. They are free. They proceed every moment according to what power indicates to them. To have that vision, they cultivate a sobriety that the ordinary person does not know." He explained that in general, the new seers opt for a position of celibacy and self-sufficiency because they are very greedy with their energy and they prefer to dedicate it to the expansion of their awareness. They have witnessed worlds on their journeys into infinity and to make all other things seem pale and without attraction, even the sexual act. Don Juan said that making love was for those who don't have attachments. Responding to another question, he said that there is no such thing as a sexual problem. Only individuals and their own very particular dilemmas to solve. To see it in a generic form is a trap because it makes us dilute our responsibility and excuse ourselves with the notion that everybody else is the same as we are. Like birth and death, to procreate is an individual act, a gift which the ego has granted us. What sorcerers demand is something very simple: responsibility. The society in which we live is a school where they have forced us to comply with astonishingly cruel orders. we become old, and making love turns into a grotesque parody. Society imposes a drainage on us, a preset behavior that doesn't stop until there is not a single blink of light left in us. I had an example of this in my grandfather. The old man used to say, "You cannot fuck them all, but you have to try." He already had one foot in the grave and still kept reacting the way they had taught him. He spent half his time getting a woman and the other half working hard to maintain her. Finally, on his deathbed, the old man became bitter with the idea that his lovers didn't want him for his manliness anymore, but for his money. "She doesn't love me," he whimpered, and his grandsons assured him, "She does love you, Grandpa." The stupid man died this way, screaming, "Here I come, Mommy!" Is it necessary to be a sorcerer to grasp that this is not all we can have as human beings? He admitted that before deciding to practice the warrior's way, he believed he was a seductive man, and he behaved as one, driven by a Latin male stereotype. Once I seduced a girl and brought her back to my car. We both got so horny that the windshield got all steamed up with all the kisses and hugs we were giving each other. When I was most turned on, I discovered that the supposed girl was a man. Another time, I fell sincerely in love with a young girl, but eventually I began to suspect that she cheated on me. I changed my car and stayed watching from the corner of her house. The other one arrived. When I asked her to explain, she told me, "With you, it's love. With him, it's just sex." This kind of encounter made me decide to behave with more moderation in my love affairs. But the pressure of my stereotype was too strong. I continued to spend my energy on sex according to a pattern of my race until Don Juan gave me the choice. Either I had to calm down or abandon the apprenticeship. Responding to another question, he maintained that the best way of stopping the energy drainage that takes place through sexuality is learning how to make magnanimous gestures which counter and loosen the fixation of our attention. We have received life as a cosmic gift, and it is our privilege to reflect the gesture with total detachment. Thanks to his indifference, the warrior is in the position of turning his love into a blank check, unconditional and abstract affection, because it does not start from desire. What a marvelous thing. Contrary to what a man in the street thinks, the nature of sorcerers is telluric, passionate, but the object of their passion is no longer carnal. They have seen the glue that ties all things together, a wave of passion that floods the universe and cannot be stopped, because, should that happen, everything would be reduced to nothing. Through their seeing, they have established their base on the cornerstone of awareness, the most powerful state of individual attention. Their love is an overpowering reality that vibrates in every breath, is expressed in every gesture, and given meaning in every word. It is a force which impels them to explore, to take risks, and to evolve, constantly bringing out the best of themselves. Sorcerers have discovered the most refined form of love because they love themselves. They know that all we give out is a reflection of what we have inside. They have put the power of passion to the service of being, and it gives them the necessary impulse to undertake the only quest that counts, the quest for oneself.